like it will just disappear.
And it always disappears once you go to watch it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm the worst at that. And then like I'll rent something to watch it, and then it'll just appear on streaming like a week later.
Rent.
I will watch it, and then it'll appear on streaming. Like, oh great, thanks.
Welcome to Idiot Block, a comedic podcast critiquing, discussing, and analyzing the media industry through reviews, debates, and historical deep dives.
Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Idiot Plot. I'm David Yanich, and joining me today, as always, are my co-hosts Alex Overdahl.
You're a popcorn salesman.
And Justin Neitzel.
Lonely. I am so lonely.
On today's episode, we're another installment of our movie pick series. This week, it's Alex's pick. Alex, why don't you tell everyone what you made us watch this week?
I picked the 1950 film In a Lonely Place, the film noir-ish film starring Humphrey Bogart. Yeah.
I love that this set of picks is basically movies that I'm pretty sure nobody has heard of other than us. We had Phantom last week. In a Lonely Place I'd never heard about until you brought up this week. And Justin's next week, which we'll probably keep at the end of this. Although this will probably kind of a forgotten one.
Or at least definitely ones that at the time weren't like regarded how they are now, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, most definitely.
But anyway, before we get into that, we're going to start with another opening segment of what we watched. So who wants to start us off with what they watched?
I'll go. I watched the 2000 movie Finding Forrester. Basically about a young writing prodigy who finds a mentor in Sean Connery, who's basically an author who's kind of gone off the grid. He's kind of just chilling in his apartment, doesn't talk to people, has food delivered. He's gone off the lamb pretty much. But you got Rob Brown playing this black kid in basically Harlem, New York. He gets put into private school through I think it was basketball, and he kind of met the required, like he took like a test, I believe, and basically him and his buddies were hanging out one night, go into Sean Connery's apartment building and try to steal stuff from him, but he leaves his backpack, and one day he's walking by and his backpack falls from the sky behind him, and basically Sean Connery was writing all in his notebook where he was writing as well. And then they form a bond and start hanging out while he's going to prep school, and then he basically slowly starts getting better at writing because he has everything he wants to say, he just doesn't know how to put it into words. And then his one professor, who's basically the villain, played by F. Murray Abraham, is like,
of course he is.
Is basically like there's something wrong. He's most likely cheating. And then basically it was Rob Brown's character connecting with Sean Connery and getting him back into life while dealing with F. Murray Abraham. Also a early role for Anna Paquin too. All of a sudden it was like this one girl his friend is in it, and I'm like you look familiar. Who are you? Yeah, it was Anna Paquin. But
was this before or after X-Men?
I believe before, or right around the same time.
Year. Yeah, same year. It looks like.
Yeah, 2000. It was in 2000.
But it's kind of it's a slow movie, but I really liked the chemistry between the two actors. They make it fun, basically writing. You got F. Murray Abraham, who's just great.
Always.
This had to be right before Sean Connery went into retirement.
Yeah, before the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
broke him and quit.
You also get you also have a Matt Damon cameo at the end, but basically before he got big, because I don't think the Bourne movies had come out yet.
Yeah, Good Will Hunting probably had.
Yeah, that came out, but I don't think he was big name yet still.
I've never heard this movie. I'm straight honest with you. I've never heard this movie.
Cool. Pulled something out you haven't seen. That's a compliment.
Well, you amaze me with the random
king of the
90s, 2000s movies that you pull out of your hat. Like I found one on HBO Max that I watched at downtime at work randomly called Sneakers. And sure enough, you had rated it on Letterbox having seen it.
Well, I guess that's the benefit of being a couple years older than you.
Is this on anything?
I don't know. I caught it. It was on HBO. I don't know if it's on
HBO Max then.
or it was on Cinemax or something. One of the movie channels I know had it on.
It is on Stars.
On Stars. Okay, the Stars. It's getting a TV adaptation at some point because every freaking movie's getting TV adaptation now.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the greatest movie you'll ever see, but it was a lot of fun. The score had a lot of jazz in it. I thought it was actually quite appropriate.
I like jazz.
I mean, it's Gus Van Sant, so it's probably going to be pretty sappy.
Pretty much.
And it's probably gonna be it's the guy who directed Good Will Hunting, so it's probably gonna be around that similar vein.
Maybe that's why I liked it.
Yeah,
it's got a similar vibe to it.
It's got F. Murray Abraham. Like, I'm at least interested.
That's why I had to throw that out there. I was like, yeah, this will get Ovidal's attention.
Oh, you had me. Yep, you had me.
Yeah, I think I rated it about a 7 out of 10 kind of area.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not my particular style of movie because I kind of hate the late 90s, early 2000s sentimental drama.
Yeah.
But I'd be willing to give it a shot. I mean, like most things.
It definitely looks it. I can guarantee you that.
Alex, how about you? What do you have to share?
Well, this past weekend, I had the chance to go see 2001 in 70 millimeter.
Oh, screw you.
You should have known I was going with this. You should have known I was going with this.
Screw you.
Yeah, at the Aero Theater here in LA, they're a non-profit run. So they screen a lot of classics. They've got a few 70 millimeter prints, and 2001 is one of them. And like, holy shit! Like, I'd never seen. Full disclosure, I'd never seen anything in 70 millimeter. I mean, obviously as a kid, everything was screened on film prints, but it was in Wisconsin, so it was like Marcus Theater's film print quality. I'm sure was not the greatest.
Hey, Greg has the greatest film. Come on the podcast.
Right, yeah. Come and prove me wrong, Greg. But certainly, I'd never seen anything on 70. And you hear like, oh, it's supposed to look the best, it's the most detailed, whatever. But like, until you see it, you don't get why. Because I didn't fully understand why. And really, for me, it was the colors. Like, I've never seen anything on digital, 4K, whatever, IMAX that had like that level of color detail and like just the subtle hues and stuff. So especially for a film like 2001, I mean, like, it's just incredible to look at. Of course, the sound, finally seeing it in the theater, this is one of my favorite films, like, was incredible. And it was just a fantastic experience. Especially, it's one of those theaters, no phones, no anything. Like, these are all people who are serious about it. There's somebody who worked with Kubrick who attended that I don't remember his name, and I should have written it down. But somebody was there. I don't know who.
I've seen a couple of films in 70. I saw Hateful Eight in 70, and I saw Dunkirk on 70 IMAX. There is no real way to describe 70 millimeter to someone who hasn't seen it other than that it's better. It's kind of hard to explain why it's better. It's just better. Details better, colors are better, depth of field. Like, it's just a much better experience. And really, in order for 70 to really be good, you have to see a film like Hateful Eight or 2001 that was shot on 70. I know, like, films like Joker got a 70 millimeter run, but that was filmed in digital. It's not going to look as good on 70. It wasn't made for 70.
No, yeah, like, I don't even get the point of that. Like, it's not really a film copy, you know what I mean? Like, you're processing it in something it wasn't shot on, so it's not really going to work.
So we can claim that it's that new, very nice, prestigious film you think it's going to be when it's not.
That's essentially why they did it.
Right, and it's going to look better than this, but it's like to get a more modern concept that's like more relatable when they would take those movies that weren't shot in 3D and put them in 3D, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that's kind of like what it would be trying to put something in 70. Like, well, it wasn't shot for this. It doesn't look right. So, yeah, I mean, seeing something shot on 70 in 70 is like a level of detail that, like, you're not going to see any other way. And I don't know if or when, like, digital will get to that level of detail.
It won't. It can't.
It's just because, like, the reading of the pixels and, like, those subtle differences. Because, like, there's this one, just like an example in the part to Jupiter in 2001, right, where there's all the, like, crazy shit. And there's one that looks like an orange kind of supernova blob thing. And on digital, even the 4K one, which looks great, it's like the orange thing and then the whole background is black. On 70, it's like it slowly transitions with the orange, so like you get the orange like bleeding into the black colors, if that makes sense. So it looks almost completely different because it has more detail, and like when you read something digitally, like it can only decipher so many different colors.
Well, digital can only get as good as 70 if processing speeds on DVD players and consoles and Blu-ray players and stuff improves, and if internet speeds can improve. It's just that the tech, weirdly enough, just isn't as good as analog stuff. It's really bizarre to say that, but it's true. There's something lost in the transition from analog film format to digital copies. That digital stuff just isn't up to snuff. The code and processing just isn't there to capture those colors, like you said, or the detail, or any of that stuff. It's not there.
We don't have the processing power. Well, get it, damn it.
Well, or just the code, because digital stuff, it's all ones and zeros.
Yeah.
If you can't convert certain colors to code, you can't get them on the film.
Right, and that's I think the biggest thing you notice with 2001 for sure. Like there's just on the digital, there's just not enough colors. As amazing as it looks, like it's really a big difference. And like as a result, I saw new things that I hadn't noticed, and I've seen this film a bunch of times by now.
I mean, I'm no film purist, but if you have the opportunity to see movies shot on film, do it.
Definitely.
Like I'm a big believer in seeing films in the way they were meant to be seen. I don't always get to do that, but it's why I saw Hateful Eight 70mm. It's why I saw Dunkirk in IMAX 70. It's why I saw a bunch of movies in 3D that I probably shouldn't have, because that's what they were designed to be seen in.
I gotta go looking around for a 70mm area.
Good luck where you live.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's gonna Wisconsin. You'll probably have to drive a few hours.
The Majestic
that is the nice thing about LA. Like they have a lot of those, but it's harder to find elsewhere. But I would keep an eye out for
the Majestic in Milwaukee might.
That's true.
And if you go deeper into Milwaukee, you might get some more art house theaters that have more film presentations.
Probably. Now I just gotta find something to watch.
Really, anything is worth it. There's a theater I want to go.
Yeah.
Minneapolis to this film. See, we're not talking about the movie. We're just talking about film.
Well, I mean, like 2001. I feel like I've mentioned a few times. I mean, if you haven't seen 2001, like, I don't want to tell people to stop listening, but stop listening and watch it and then come back.
See, I need to watch it in 70 just because I saw it in IMAX, and I feel like you're only bringing it up on the podcast just to spite me and just try and rub in that you saw it in 70.
You have done some rubbing with the IMAX for a couple of years.
Well, yeah, because I know it bugs you. But I want to compare it because IMAX is as good as digital as you'll ever get for a
absolutely. So that would be an interesting comparison.
Yeah, to see how much better one is than the other. I'm assuming IMAX sound will probably be better than 70mm sound, just because IMAX sound setup is the best ever in theater. It's probably better than Dolby. Dolby Atmos might be better now, but wasn't for a while. But really,
and like that, I mean, they had a good sound setup here, but it was like standard good theater sound. It wasn't like Atmos or IMAX sound.
When I saw it in IMAX, the sound was deafening.
Yeah, when you get the part.
Oh, that was fun.
that like made my ears ring this time. I was like sitting there waiting for it, like grabbing my chair, like here it comes.
I'm ready to blow up my eardrums.
I mean, for something completely different with what I watched, I watched a documentary. This was on Pluto TV, but I've been meaning to watch it for a long time, called Tickled.
Oh, I've heard about this.
I've known about for a while. The filmmaker David Ferrier. My wife loves him. He has a show on Netflix called Dark Tourist that is pretty good. I'd recommend it. But Tickled is about David Ferrier discovered on the internet YouTube videos for a sport called competitive endurance tickling. And he's like, well, this is weird. He's a journalist, so he's like, I want to look into this. I want to see what the heck this is all about. And David Ferrier is bisexual. He was dating a guy at the time. This is important because when he emailed the company that produces these tickle competitions, the response he got was that they will never work with a gay journalist and someone who who lives in sin and does all this evil stuff.
Interesting.
And what the rest associated with that. So he's like, okay then. And so he made a report about him trying to do this and getting called out for sexuality, which of course angers them even more and draws attention to this tickle organization, this competitive endurance tickling. So this is too weird. So him and his buddies decided to make this into a movie. And I won't give a lot away because the movie is all about the twists as these two journalists try and go and do a deep dive into this organization. And what they find is shocking. It's disturbing. It's hilarious. It's weird. It's haunting. This is probably one of the most insane documentaries I've ever seen. It's not what you think it is.
That's the big thing I remember hearing about this movie is it's not what you think it is, and I'm like, okay.
It goes off in so many different directions. It will blow your mind. And there is also a follow-up called The Tickle King, which is about the continuing battles between the filmmakers and the subjects of the movie, which I don't even know if the legal battles are still resolved. But there's tons of legal battles as these people try to keep themselves secret, and David Fincher tries to expose them. It's an amazing documentary. People think Tiger King is like the most insane documentary. No, it's Tickled. Tickled and Dear Zachary are the two documentaries that anyone has seen them will tell you are some of the most, or probably the most disturbing docs out there. Even if you're not into documentaries, it's well worth a watch because it's less of a documentary and more of a thriller. Like to me, it feels like a traditional thriller movie where these people get in way over their head and have their kind of the world's crashing around them as they try and break the story. It's like a weird fetish version of All the President's Men.
Now you have my attention.
Yeah, I mean, it is a documentary, but it is so shocking, but also so interesting. It's fantastically made. It's not trying to get anybody. It's done in this very objective format. They're not really trying to vilify anyone. They kind of let the facts speak for themselves, and the facts are very damning. But yeah, highly recommend. Watch Tickled. Watch The Tickle King. You will be disturbed. You might not have a great time, but I highly recommend it if you're into weird, insane documentaries. You will not be disappointed.
Tickle, tickle, tickle.
Yeah, don't. Stop it. Like I can't tell you how you know, I'm not gonna go there.
Just watch it.
Just that part. Yeah, but it's it's hard to talk about this movie because I can't go in depth into what it's actually about, just because that spoils the movie. All I can really say is just watch it, and I know that sounds kind of like cheap, but I don't want to ruin the experience because it is an experience.
I mean, basically what you said is basically what I've heard from other people. Is they've given what it's about. Basically, like you gotta watch it to believe it. It's hard to explain.
It's one of those films that came out and it was huge for like 6 months and then disappeared out of nowhere. It completely vanished. And I think there's a reason why that is. I won't say what it is because it does kind of spoil the movie a little bit. But it was really big and then vanished. And then Tiger King kind of came out and was kind of similar and got way bigger than Tickled ever. Even though Tickled is way better.
That's because it was Pandemic King. Everyone was home, so
Tiger King was like that was the show everyone needed at that point in time.
That feels like that was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, I know, right?
How old am I? What year is it?
I guess I will say before we move on. Tickled is not for everyone. Please look into it before you watch it. At least a little bit. Not to do trigger warnings because I'm not good at that stuff. There is lots of deep dark content that isn't for everyone. so please don't at me if you watch this movie based on my recommendation and you are deeply disturbed by what you see. This is your only warning for me. Now enjoy the show. Anyway, with that, we'll move on to our main topic of today, In a Lonely Place. Alex, you seem to know exactly what you want us to talk about with this movie, so I'm going to pass the torch over to you.
Speaking of deep dark content,
I don't know if this is anything on that. Just say it. Just say it. Unless Humphrey Bogart tickled people, which honestly,
well, right, it's not the same thing. I'm trying to make a nice transition here.
I need to say this stuff. Humphrey Bogart either tickling someone or being tickled sounds like the most terrifying thing.
No, yeah, especially him in this movie tickling someone.
Tickle. Japs his thumb through their eye.
While delivering some one-liner. All right, so for those who don't know, this film is about, as we said, it stars Humphrey Bogart, who's kind of alcoholic, hot-tempered screenwriter who's also like, very funny, very charming, things like that. So he's right, yeah, he's Humphrey Bogart, but a little darker, and he gets accused of murdering someone who was like an assistant helping him finish his screenplay, and his alibi is his neighbor who just moved in, and they begin to form a romance. But as it goes on, she starts to suspect his more violent nature and becomes scared of him, while at the same time like feeling sucked in by his charm and his more positive attributes, and it just continues to spiral, and she starts to suspect him even though she's his alibi. And I think what were you gonna say?
I was saying, to get this out of the way, we're going to spoil this movie, aren't we?
Yeah, it's hard not to, because it's one of those films that like how you feel during the film and then when you reach the end is different, if that makes sense. It's like, oh shit. Like, and that's a part of what, to get into the themes, which is really like the core discussion with this. Like, at times it's very funny, other times it's very dark and scary and like gets you into that. But really it's about abusive relationships, and it's about how people get sucked into that, and how, because he's charming and you feel that as the viewer, like he's fun to watch, but his darker nature takes over and you realize who he really is. So, and it's about how she gets sucked into that, and by the end realizes the situation she's in. And especially for a film that came out in 1950, that's certainly ahead of its time.
At the same time, though, I will say it is kind of about her realizing what he is. But I don't think the movie really portrays him as a evil or bad guy. More so, he's a guy who's trying to be decent. He just has problems. He's human. He has anger issues. He has impulse control problems.
Right, and I think that's why it's so effective, because now you will see a lot of films where like that type of character feels almost like a cartoon, like
kind of
angry person.
Yeah,
and in this case, it turns him into a human who has this horrible attribute, but is also like, it feels like he's trying to be better, but he just keeps going back to it.
There's something in his head that just won't let him.
The way I see it, the biases of other people start to affect her own perception. It's less about, to me, a lot of this movie is less about who Dixon Steele really is, and what everyone else is kind of made him out to be, and how Laurel Gray perceives that, and how that influences her own perception of events. Because to me, I saw as she wasn't seeing his actions through objective lens, she was almost seeing his actions through what other people had told her about him by the end.
Pretty much. I mean, at first she's all happy and everything and nothing's wrong, and then people are like, oh, you're with him, well, what about this and that, and about this?
I think to me she's ignoring the warning signs, because like she's ignoring it, because she's like, oh, he's like, some of the things she says directly is like, oh, he's not like that anymore, that was a long time ago, and she makes defenses. But by the end, I think in that last scene it shows that a lot of them were right,
but they were also wrong.
I was gonna say they were also pushing her to see this other outcome, especially the detectives on the case,
because you're trying to push her to see him as a murderer when the film reveals, spoiler alert now, he's not.
Right. But then in that last scene, the fact that it doesn't matter, like what he's done, he's like strangled her, like he's fully capable of it and is that way.
Well, and nearly killed a guy with a rock.
Right.
The weird thing about this is I must have seen this at some point, but I don't remember when. Because watching it, I'm like, okay, I kind of, this all seems vaguely familiar. So I don't know if like my grandparents were watching it or something, and I happened to see it when I was younger. But it was just like I'm having deja vu.
Yeah,
I mean, I definitely not seen this movie before. I didn't even hear of it. I liked it a lot. It's kind of grown on me the more I think about it because I do think the themes are really good.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened with me. Like, it's one that just stuck in my head because, like, you know, again, it has a lot going on thematically, and as we kind of said, like, I haven't seen this kind of film done this way, like about this subject done this way.
Well, that's because if you make that film today, it's always going to lean one way. This kind of plays the balancing game of you don't know what is going on. You're in the dark as much as the actress is.
If you made this movie today, he would have been the killer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
First off, it should have been on Lifetime, but he also would very obviously be the killer. The fact that he's not the killer, but could have been, is a much more powerful finish.
Well, I also have to say is like at the beginning of this movie, I didn't know what was going on. Like, I didn't know if they were together and planned out on killing her or whatever, or were they in on it together, or was she just blackmailing him? Or, I mean, it plays it very vague in the beginning, and then it's not till later that you start to see. And I was also thinking, like, is she the killer, maybe?
It's really sophisticated for his time, in my opinion, with stuff like that. With the depths of storytelling, especially with murder mysteries, isn't really what we've kind of seen.
And I think, like, that's one of the interesting things about it is, like, the noir aspects, like, the mystery aspects work, but it's actually just this front to get you into the deeper stuff. But, like, it's effective on that level, too. Like, you're wondering, like, oh, did he do it? Like, you start to doubt it, too. And it weaves in that murder mystery angle while it's setting up the deeper pieces.
It's a lot like, what's that Shia LaBeouf movie? Disturbia.
Disturbia, yeah.
It's kind of Disturbia, but bad. Good. It's good Disturbia. I also have to give credit. I'm not the biggest Humphrey Bogart fan because, let me finish, and you'll be mad at me when I'm done. Because I always thought he didn't have any range. I always felt like Humphrey Bogart played Humphrey Bogart until this movie. He played a Humphrey Bogart I don't remember seeing in other films like Casablanca or Maltese Falcon and stuff like that. He's a lot darker, angrier, violent, unhinged. He's damn good. He's fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, this and Treasure of the Sierra Madre, I think, are my favorites of his for that reason. He's, like, completely different. I mean, that one, he's like an animal. He's, like, completely wild. And this, like, he plays like Humphrey Bogart until he starts to get very angry and scary.
Everyone in this film is really good.
Yeah, the actors. I haven't seen her, Gloria Graham. I haven't seen her in that much.
She was a ton,
but she is very good in this.
Well, even like the secretary, the one who got murdered, she was really fun.
Yeah.
The first part in her scenes, and I was just like, back when you could have a well-rounded cast of people who can actually act, instead of like today, where it's like, oh, let's throw some model or somebody in there and they can't act to save their life.
Well, not just that. You have to have, back then you have to have like the big star and then a bunch of nobodies. This it does really sound like an ensemble cast that works. It's very much a part of its time with that. If you have Humphrey Bogart and you have the ensemble around Humphrey Bogart.
Right. And it's a very small cast, but, like, they're all very effective.
I'm surprised it hasn't gotten any sort of theatrical adaptations yet. Like a movie that I feel like we're going to compare it to eventually, Sunset Boulevard. That hasn't gotten. I might like this movie more than Sunset Boulevard, and they're kind of similar.
Interesting. I do love both.
They're kind of similar. Sunset Boulevard, of course, is widely beloved. On the Wikipedia page, they're comparing it to All About Eve too, and I don't know if I'd go that far.
No, I don't think it's very much like All About Eve.
Well, they say because it's about Hollywood celebrity culture of the time.
That's true. I think this has more higher ambitions.
It doesn't have as much of the studio stuff in it as you would think.
Yeah, it's less about filmmaking,
which is gold.
It's less about filmmaking and more about the
person in filmmaking, basically in a writer's.
Yeah, it's getting into the mind of a guy who writes violent stories, right?
Yeah,
that's his job. Is he writes violent stories? He does this stuff, and it's making the comparison that a violent story is obviously written by a violent man. Is that accurate in the real world? Who knows?
Because I mean, we never once see him on a set or anything, or talking to a director. character. Hell,
I guess
he
more just
barely
the
even talks to
backdrop.
the guy he's writing the play for, or the movie for.
I think it's more the backdrop for like looking at relationships and looking at that kind of person. Like it's just kind of the background versus something like Sunset Boulevard, which we mentioned, which is very much like commentary on the studio system.
You have a little bit of the people in the exploration of the people behind it, especially with what's her name in Sunset Boulevard.
Gloria. I was about to say that really confidently, and then I chickened out.
Gloria is the actress. Norma Desmond's the character.
Norma Desmond, that's right. I mean, like she is kind of playing an exaggerated version of herself.
Yeah, that's true. But Norma Desmond is kind of similar, I think, in a way. Sticks and Steel, more so in how they portray them as like leads. Of you look at the people that would do the things that they do, you kind of look at the reasons why. Obviously, Sticks and Steel is violent, and Norma Desmond's absolutely insane.
And also violent.
Yeah.
And also violent.
I just felt like it does say a little bit, but I feel like it's almost it's not even really talking about like Hollywood and writing, really.
To me, actually, do you know what movie I would compare this more to? Something like Talk Radio or Uncut Gems, personally, because it's a lot more introspective and personal about
Talk Radio. But yeah,
the other thing I was thinking about when watching this movie was the HBO miniseries, the night of.
Yeah, that's an interesting comparison.
I thought because that kind of has the whole thing about biases and guilty until proven innocent, and the whole potential of they didn't do it, but they possibly could have, and if they didn't do it then, they could do it now.
Right.
I mean, even at the end of this movie, you're kind of expecting at the end, is he gonna kill her or no? And then
that was actually the original. I just saw this on Wikipedia when I looked it up today. That was the original ending.
Oh, really?
Yeah, production code.
Yep, the original ending the shot was he killed her, but then the writer and director was like, that sucked. We're gonna do something else.
I would almost agree. It works better that he doesn't kill her and that they just like break it off because like it's done. Like he's revealed that he's capable of that.
Well, him killing her is like not necessarily like the Disney ending, but it's that everything's tied in a bow. Story resolved. See, he is a killer. Har, you know.
Mm-hmm. Freeze frame.
And then because production code, the cops have to come and shoot him or something.
Yeah, this is much more ambiguous. Of he didn't kill anybody, but it doesn't matter.
Right. I think it's hard to do. You know, again with the production code, like it was very hard to do ambiguous, morally ambiguous, like complex endings like that. And in this case, they did it.
The fact that movies like this and Double Indemnity were able to pull off their endings is like it's a credit to the writers and directors.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not always a fan of the writing in this, just because this movie, to me, the characters talk in like allegories and shit way too much.
It, like you said, it does feel like a Lifetime movie at times.
Like the dialogue, sometimes it's really good. Other times, I'm like, oh my god, just say what you're trying to say. This is a 5-minute conversation that could have been said in 2 sentences. Holy crap. But that's just me, personally. I like a lot of the allegorical dialogue, just not every line had to be that.
I suppose that's fair. I'll live with it.
Clear Jets Humphrey Bogart. Not every scene of dialogue you have has to be the Casablanca. You walked in, she could have been at any bar, but she came to this one. Not every scene has to be that. You know, I do really the movie. And honestly, I came into this podcast at like 3.5. Just by talking about it, I'm already at like 4.
Yeah, it'll keep growing. Like I said, this is one that just like plants itself in your brain. Which, if you can't tell, those are the ones I like the most. But like that just like grow over time.
Well, because like no one likes to go to a movie or watch a movie and then immediately forget what they saw as through the turn up.
Right. Or at least I don't.
Or turn their brain off to watch it. I really like that. Yeah.
I don't mind turning my brain off to watch certain movies.
Yeah, like it can be fun, but
it's
like
the only way I can enjoy stuff like the Expendables. But this, it's really good. I don't think it's for everyone. I wouldn't recommend it to everyone, but it's really ahead of its time. I think is the big takeaway, at least that I thought. But this is something I would expect from the 70s, at least in its writing.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think, again, in terms of like the things it's talking about, like, I mean, a lot of what he was doing was pretty acceptable socially at that point in time, unfortunately.
I don't think it went too far at any points, even in today's.
No, I don't. I think it was fine because a lot of it was more psychological, and because of the Hays violations, you couldn't get that physical. But honestly, not doing it is sometimes more scary than actually doing it.
Yeah,
definitely.
Your mind.
I think that's one of
your mind is the most scariest thing in the world. It creates images you are most terrified of versus someone just making something and showing.
Right, and I think that's one of like, especially like 40s, 50s films when they really got in the flow of that. That's one thing I always love with them is the creative ways they have to get around that, so then it feels like a lot of times scarier or more intense because they can't, show someone getting hacked up or whatever, right? Like they have to really be creative, and that creates a lot of tension.
I'd say bring back the rules so we could try to get more creative like that, but I don't think that would work very well.
Oh no, it would get real bad.
Right.
The MPAA is bad enough.
Yeah.
The MPAA sucks. Why are PG and PG-13 like different categories again?
They're essentially the same.
It doesn't matter anymore.
I think that's part of why, like, to go on a random tangent a bit, but like why some 70s films are so effective, because they had just gotten out of the code, so they had that creativity, but they also had more freedom. So then, like, when they needed it, they could use it, but they also knew when to like pull back.
Yeah, because no one wanted to go all out immediately after, unless you're Ralph Bakshi or the guy who made Midnight Cowboy. You don't want to go right into it right away, but sometimes you have to. I mean, you had that transition period from the 60s to the 70s where the Hays Code went away, the MPAA came in, the industry was trusted to regulate itself, and it did fairly well for the most part. Even now, it's really stupid.
Yeah.
This is a really good movie. I never would have watched it on my own.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember how I found it. I was probably looking up other Humphrey Bogart films, if I'm being honest.
Oh, you
I was like, well,
looked up some random lists.
I've definitely done that. But I think I was also just looking at noir lists, and this one kept coming up, and I'm like, this doesn't really sound like a noir, but I'll watch it. And like I saw how well received it was, because it's another one of those that at the time it was like, and now it's it's considered like maybe his best performance and like one of the best films he was in. So it's gained that reputation over time.
It's definitely my favorite performance of his.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's this and Sierra Madre. I mean, this is definitely a better film, but I think this is his best one because it's got those nuances to it.
Well, it's also nice because it's constrained and it's only an hour and 34 minutes. It's a short movie.
Which is another thing I miss. Like, there are a lot of amazing, like, I love 3-hour films when they earn it, but like there are a lot of amazing, there are a lot of amazing 40s and 50s films that are like 90 minutes, 100 minutes, somewhere in there.
Some are like an hour.
Yeah, they're
what
very
Chaplin did, or The General by Buster Keaton. Those ones are barely an hour, and they're amazing.
Yeah. What is Casablanca, like an hour 50?
If that.
Somewhere around there. Same with Maltese Falcon. Is that one a little longer? I can't remember.
Most films didn't go past 2 hours back at that point.
Right. Yeah. Like I know Citizen Kane is a little longer. There are a few other ones, but generally it was like hour and a half, hour 50.
Now everything's got to be 2.5 hours, 3 to 3.5 hours of boredom.
Which even from like a business standpoint is stupid.
Yeah.
Because the longer the movie is, the less showtimes they can fit in a day.
Right. And then they just pad it with extra trailers, and then you're in the theater for like 3 hours. It's like, this film should be 2 hours or less.
I mean, Dylan DeVolve is getting ridiculous with some of his runtime movies.
Oh, Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah,
I agree. That's like Prisoners is a big one for me. Like, that's a solid film. I don't like it anywhere near as much as everybody else because, I mean, that movie is like at least a half hour longer than it needs to be, and it loses the tension. Like, it takes so long to get to the end part that you've been waiting for that you lose a lot of the tension.
The ones I've seen, I think Arrival is his best paced and time-wise movie.
Yeah, and we won't
All
fight
of
about
it
Blade
is
Runner.
Way too long. I mean, it's a significant issue. They act like it's not a problem that every movie is 2.5 hours. No, it is a problem. It's a serious. People don't necessarily want to commit that much time on a consistent basis. I will, because I don't think anything else better going on. But there are people that actually have lives, and they can't always spend 2.5, 3 hours in a theater, especially with some of these movies having no business being that long.
Well, and you also have the trailers and all the other stuff.
And the actual commercials.
Yeah. Like, going into movies nowadays is like a 4-hour experience, and you're like, I just wasted like half a day.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you know, the MCU ones now are all at least like 130 something minutes. Like, they're all 2+
hours.
Yeah, it's like a lot of those should be like an hour and a half.
I mean, because sure, movies can be good. I mean, that's why if you watch most extended cuts, a lot of them are shit.
Right.
Because the pacing's destroyed. A big example of that to me is the Deadpool 2. What's it called? Like the bigger, longer cut or whatever.
The PG cut, the PG-13 cut one.
No, not that one. The super duper long one, whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Extended cut has some good stuff in it, but otherwise it's just padded out exposition that doesn't need to be there. It makes the movie 2.5 hours long.
I believe that's a character that doesn't need that long of a movie because you'll get sick of them.
It's just about pacing, keeping things moving, right? Like in a lonely place. It keeps things moving. It skips time. It doesn't show you everything because it doesn't need to.
Shows you everything that's important.
Right. It doesn't have fat to it. It doesn't, you know, have those moments where it's over explaining, okay, this is exactly what's happened in between when we were last with the characters, right? Like, oh, this is exactly what happened in these how many months, you know, just so you know. It's like you skip ahead and you see them living together consistently. Okay, it's been a little bit. Like, that's all you need.
Yeah, it doesn't need to tell you everything because you don't need to know everything. And that's the problem. That's the thing that's a kind of issue with viewer habits is I think viewers want to know everything and they blame the movie when they don't see everything. When really you don't need to see it.
Very true.
You don't need to know every single moment. And there are some movies and TV shows that probably cut too much out for time. While I love Armando Iannucci, the thick of its time jumps are almost too severe. Too much stuff has passed. But I wouldn't say that In a Lonely Place has that problem.
No. Like, it's not quite clear how much time passes in all, but it's not particularly important. Like, it's easy enough to follow because you know their relationship has progressed further each time it goes a little bit ahead.
And when you try and treat everything as super important, then nothing becomes important, and the movie becomes bloated and directionless and pointless trash. That's what you have to look out for when you add everything for the sake of having everything.
Yeah, like you have to know what you want. Like, you have to know what your direction is for the film. Like, and this is one that has a clear vision and is always moving towards that.
Yeah, and it has a good vision, which is also part of the issue. Is your vision can be shit. Like,
right.
Well, I get it. That's how it's fun, but it's true, right? Just because it's your vision doesn't make it good. I hate that argument. Just because it's a vision, it's good. Your vision can be bad.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it has a vision, so it's a movie. Okay, we've gotten past that step as an actual movie. Okay, how is it?
Not good.
It has a creative vision. It's in 4x3.
Yeah, I was hitting there. I knew we'd end up there, but it's. I mean, it's true. That gets credit for having a vision. It's like, you know, you do need more than that. It needs to be a good one with good themes. Like, it has to be a good story. Like,
another person who has problems with time management and pacing.
Yeah, that's like 3 Lonely Places.
I probably would rather watch Lonely Place 3 times rather than that.
Yeah, I would watch it 3 times in a row over watching that again.
I'm curious what you guys' feelings are, because this movie is considered noir, which is missing some noir elements, but it probably is one at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm willing to call it one, I think. Like, I did go on a noir binge at one point in quarantine, so I've seen like a bunch of them now.
Well, noir to me is a franchise that's like effectively dead.
Yeah,
And the
we're
ones
talking about
that
neo-noir,
exist-
but really it barely has anything in common with noir.
well, the noir films that exist are almost like parodies of it, like Sin City.
Yeah.
I love Sin City. Noir's become like a joke. It's always the detective in the dark alley, in the rain, in the trench coat.
Right. It's become a little bit of a joke, which is unfortunate. Like, I think what surprised me most is a lot of them have a lot more thematic depth than they get credit for. Because, yeah, you do like it's the private eye with the cigarette and, he says damn a lot.
Well, that's the weird thing about this movie is it's a noir, but it's like you're not following the detective who's hunting down the case. You're following the guy who's accused of being the murderer.
Yeah.
You can have noir without it being a detective. I don't know why, at least in America, noir became exclusively a mystery fiction genre.
Right,
but
like, I don't want to
have
Sunset Boulevard is one, and he's not a detective, and there's no murder mystery.
And even some, like I love The Long Goodbye, take noir into a completely different direction.
Yeah.
But Double Indemnity is noir, and that's not about detectives, but insurance agents.
Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of like become an easy one to parody, or like when people try and do it, it's like they see the surface level elements, and like the rest is a little lacking with the neo-noir ones. I think one that did it really well was LA Confidential. I feel like that's just like a straight up noir. They just made one in the 90s, and they're like, okay, here we go.
I think Big Lebowski is considered noir, too, or at least neo-noir.
Yeah, see, and that's where I'm like, that's a very good film. Like, that's where neo-noir is just like, really anything to do with noir? Like,
I would say that Big Lebowski has a lot of elements of noir, where you have a protagonist who's put into a situation where he's over his head. You have the femme fatale. You have him being manipulated by other people while manipulating them. It does have the elements.
Yeah,
Are they done in a way that's almost parody and just kind of checking boxes? Yeah, but see, I'm gonna Google definition of film noir.
Yeah, here's one that just like very much tries to be like a noir or neo-noir, but like feels very artificial. Everybody talks about are ones like Inherent Vice or like stuff like that. Or like, I guess I'm going to out myself for my hottest take now, but like I'm finally going to do it. Chinatown, okay?
See, none of us have seen this movie, so this take isn't that hot yet.
But I feel like Chinatown is just a very standard noir. It gets credit because it was the 70s and it used a realistic topic. But like, I feel like it's one that doesn't really do anything different than noir, but gets credited as like this amazing noir or neo-noir. It's right on the border where it's like, I think there's a certain date where like afterwards they just call everything neo-noir. So I think it's technically that, but really it's just regular noir.
So the definition I have here from noir from Oxford Languages is a style or genre of cinematographic film marked by a mood of pessimism, fatalism, and menace. The term was originally applied by a group of French critics to American thriller or detective films made in the period 1944 to 1954, and to the work of directors such as Orson Welles, Fritz Lang, and Billy Wilder. That's super vague.
That is, yeah.
Let's look up elements.
But I feel like the one, like, I feel like Kiss Me Deadly is the last noir because it just takes it and goes completely bonkers with it.
The Ford song?
What?
The Ford song, Kiss Me Deadly?
No.
Kiss Me Once. I probably can't do that, can I? Because of copyright.
We've had 2 songs on this episode now.
If we get struck by that, it'd be funny.
No, it wouldn't. Wouldn't be funny at all.
Yeah, it would be, because we got struck and no one listens.
No, they have an algorithm that does it now. It like looks for like music.
Oh well, I guess we're screwed with my lonely song in the beginning.
Oh, okay, here we go. Elements of film noir include cynical heroes, stark lighting effects, frequent use of flashbacks, intricate plots, and underlying existentialist philosophy.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think that's pretty.
And the lighting is like that good shit. That's like the mark of if I'm gonna enjoy this noir. Like, how's the lighting?
How harsh are these shadows?
Yeah, this one, the scene where he's like having them like reenact the sequence, right? He's like explaining to the detective at his house like how it probably happened.
Probably the
and
best
like the
scene
lighting
of the
on
movie.
his face. Yeah, his face is like terrifying with how they light it.
That scene, they get that in the car chase. Humphrey Bogart, and by car chase I mean just him driving like a madman and then crashing.
Yeah,
and then beating him up.
Humphrey Bogart in those two scenes specifically is just so off the rails intense. He's terrifying.
Yeah, his face is scary. Yeah, I was like, why am I scared of Humphrey Bogart? What the fuck is happening?
Yeah, because remember Humphrey Bogart's just like that kind of almost like a car parody of himself.
Yeah, I feel like his part of that is like we talked about noir getting parodied. I mean, his performance became like the noir detective performance, right? Like everybody did the Bogart after Maltese Falcon because like that was like so popular and so iconic that everybody kind of modeled it that way.
And he imagined went from being like a character actor, being like the biggest actor of like all time for a certain period of time.
Yeah, he's one of my like favorites. I definitely would agree. He shows range in this one, but he doesn't have the range of somebody like, I don't know, De Niro, right? But like it's hard to find a bigger star, if you know what I mean, where like they're on screen and it's just like interesting.
Which one did I see him in? I saw him one for a class that was really good. I think it was him. It was about he was like a gangster that was coming back to his old neighborhood.
Wait, I like just added this one to my watch list. I think I know exactly what you're talking about. Was it Angels with Dirty Faces?
It might be.
Yeah, I literally just added this to my list. I'm like, oh, this looks really good.
I think I don't know if it is.
James Cagney, Humphrey Bogart.
In
two best friends at small times themes after a robbery. Someone sent to reformatory school, escapes and later becomes a priest.
Yeah, this is. I think this is it.
Yeah, I look like being able to instantly say that, I feel like the priest of Church Bogart, but.
No, it wasn't actually. I saw Dead End.
Dead End? I haven't even heard of that one.
1937. I saw it because I was doing a project on poverty in film for one of my classes. And yeah, Dead End's the one I saw. It also stars those Dead End kids. They're in Angels with Dirty Faces.
Oh, yeah, like, what's his name that I just said? Cagney. Oh, this is William Wyler.
Yeah.
I'm interested now.
Add it to your list.
It has Bogart in it, so.
You got him there. Interest.
Yeah, at this point, like me lately, it's like if it has Bogart or Paul Newman in it, I'll probably watch it.
It's not amazing. So you watch Cars 3?
Hey, even I have limits. Disney's about to hear that and splice him into every upcoming movie.
I'd correct you and say he was only in the first Cars, but you know where that would go.
Well, they put him in the other movies. They like Frankenstein into the character. It was insane.
Yeah, I don't know how he's in Cars 3 because I mean, I'll shock the world by saying I haven't seen Cars 3, but apparently he's in that somehow. I
have seen it and I don't remember.
It's probably like
that vintage car.
He probably says like 3 or 4 lines that are just taken from like bloopers from the aping of the first movie.
Probably. According to IMDb, he doesn't give him any credit.
He's on Wikipedia. He's in Cars 3. He's also in the Cars video game for some reason.
Yeah, but they probably just took his voice from the movie and threw it in the game.
Unless he had in this, I want to see Paul Newman in a recording booth having to record the ooh ah like like grunts and stuff.
All the weird stuff.
I want them to finally put the Hustler in The Color of Money on something. I think Color of Money was on Max for a little bit, but Hustler wasn't. So what's the point?
Yeah, was almost by what we watched.
In the way that you use it, God. And then that sound like never seen the movie.
Oh, here we go. With John Lasseter, he spent a lot of time in the recording booth with him, and between takes, he would tell him stories about great races, and essentially those recordings were the reason he reappeared in Cars 3.
They're recording his regular conversations. All right, sweet. We've got more material.
That's just probably what they're all doing now whenever these big actors do animated movies. Just record and don't turn it off. You never know when we might need it.
And Laurence Olivier was in Sky Captain the World of Tomorrow like 20 years after he died. And I still don't get how that happened.
Hustlers on Hulu, which I guess isn't the worst thing in the world. And Color of Money is on nothing. So that's cool. You know, it's a Scorsese movie. It's on nothing. Well, at least for people that don't know, I mean, you can watch it in Only Place for free with ads on IMDb TV, Pluto TV, all of those, Tubi. If you have Amazon Prime, it's ad free. on there.
Yeah, and it's been on there for a while, so hopefully it won't randomly disappear. Because it's been on there since I watched it how long ago. So
Prime has been disappearing movies pretty quickly though. Like Talk Radio was on there for like a month or two.
It's
they've got no consent. Like it will just disappear.
And it always disappears once you go to watch it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm the worst at that. And then like I'll rent something to watch it, and then it'll just appear on streaming like a week later.
Rent.
Shut up. I will watch it, and then it'll appear on streaming. Like, oh great, thanks.
That happened with me. It happened to me with some. It didn't happen with Amadeus yet, though. So I'm kind of
I was just gonna say, I bet that'll pop up like next month now.
I really hope it doesn't. So I'm
dare you.
like an idiot.
Ben, I feel like something somewhat related to this is I feel like maybe this is just me, but I feel like people our age are like we're kind of losing going back as far as like the 40s for films. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel like people really aren't of our age aren't going back as much, even to like the 60s, 70s, unless it's like one of the absolute biggest ones. I feel like people don't go as far back now because with things like Netflix, like what it pushes on the front page. If you're just looking to watch something, you might just watch that or something.
I don't know about you guys, but I know a lot of people that are like, oh, it's black and white. I'm not gonna watch that.
Yeah, I heard that a lot. It's black and white.
Believe it or not, at one point in my life, I was that person.
Oh, I believe that. I'm surprised you aren't that person now.
No, I love black and white films now.
No, his thing is animation. He's like, nope.
Yep, that one will stay forever. But like in middle school, early high school, and then I started to watch a few, and I'm like, what? So imagine that. Films have been good for a while.
I don't think it's because they're black and white. You look at movies from this era, and they're made differently. They're shot differently. They're edited differently. They're composed differently. They're different movies. We've become accustomed to fast edits, quick cuts, shots of covers of everything. And you cut to shot of everything. It's not how these movies.
Lots of music or other things to push
quick
things
wit.
forward.
We have to have more patience to watch this kind of movies. They're not like modern films. It doesn't make them bad.
Right, they're very good.
I mean,
we have to accept that they're different.
You even think about it, they don't even do like opening credits anymore, which I'm a fan of if you can do it in an entertaining way.
Yeah, I've become a little bit of a fan of the opening credit scene as long as it's not too long.
But I can see the style of some of these films being off-putting.
I just think you have to watch a few good ones and then go like, oh, this is actually really good.
There were some like Citizen Kane, 12 Angry Men that are basically just modern films.
Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, Kill a Mockingbird.
Right, and that's how you kind of. I feel like those you kind of dip your feet in and then you start going further and further back and then you're like, oh wow, like these are fantastic. But you definitely dip your feet in a little bit with some.
Well, and they're hard to find good ones because they're buried on most streaming services.
That too. These movies are never, like what I said earlier, never pushed to the front for your viewing experience.
You have to look for them.
Right, which is unfortunate. I do think Max does a little bit of a better job just because they have the one TCM section, but that's not really pushed or anything. You have to look for that. But Amazon, you will never find them unless you start watching films like this, and then it'll suggest them.
Well, and the other problem is people don't know to look for certain movies like this. They don't know that they'll be entertained by it. They just see a black and white film and be like, it's old. Probably doesn't have any significance to today. When that's farthest from the truth with some of them.
Right.
And I looked at classic movies on Netflix, and what I got for classic movies on Netflix are Back to the Future.
I was gonna say, get ready to feel old.
Silence of the Lambs, which is a classic. 90s. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Life of Brian, There's a Lost Ark, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. These are all really good movies, but
I feel like sometimes people just kind of forget movies were made in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and 60s. And usually, when people talk about movies, they usually start at the 70s and move on.
Yeah, and even that I feel like is getting pushed up. People don't want to look very far back. Now it's become the 80s and 90s. It's getting moved up further. At least with people our age, I felt that anyway when we were in school. David, you were there, the Godfather thing, right?
Oh yeah, I was there.
When they asked, because I picked for an editing class, I picked a clip from the Godfather to show, and it was the teacher asked oh, who's seen the Godfather? And a handful of people maybe in a film class. It was a couple of people.
And then everyone was really happy when that one dude played a clip from Scooby-Doo too.
Yeah.
An example of good editing. See, but you can't do that because I picked Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which was like 5 years old, and nobody had seen that either.
Yeah, that's true. But, you know, I feel like it's a little more shocking than I've seen The Godfather. Although Tinker Tailor is very good.
Do people don't watch classics? We learn that in film school. People don't watch old movies. They watch new stuff and think that will get them jobs when it won't. You have to watch the old stuff because that's what they're going to ask you. They're not going to ask you, have you seen Black Panther? They're going to ask you, have you seen 2001?
Psycho.
Yeah.
Jaws.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
Citizen Kane.
I had in a meeting, I had a conversation with someone who was like, it got into this tangent of like 70s thrillers, and it was like, oh, like Pacula, All the President's Men, those ones, like this and that. Like, people aren't going to ask you, like you said, like, oh, have you seen MCU movies? Like, they just kind of assume you have because they're new. Yeah,
exactly. That doesn't make you different. That doesn't stand. You don't stand out with that. I mean, Michael Uslan, the Batman producer, when we talked to him, he said that. He talked about that when he meets with young filmmakers and students and all that stuff. He doesn't ask. He said he's going to ask you what's your favorite Batman movie. He's going to ask you what's your favorite Frank Tashlin movie. He's going to ask you what stuff that he likes have you seen.
Yeah.
Because again, like you said, they assume you've seen Star Wars.
Any big movie you've ever heard of, they assume you've seen.
But have you seen all the Oscar movies? Do you watch a lot of foreign movies? You know, what do you watch when you aren't watching what everyone else watches?
For me, it's apparently late 90s, early 2000 movies, according to you
got
guys.
that shit locked down. David, it'll be a satire one I've never heard of.
Hey, you've heard of most of them, I said.
I have.
For you, it'll be some 3-hour epic.
For me, it won't be a random satire. It will be some like weird random cult movie that you've never heard of.
That, yep.
I'll be like, it's great. And then you ask me what the hell is wrong with me.
Oh, I don't have to ask.
Hey now. But that's like the thing is people have different tastes. It's what you like that's different from everyone else. That's what sets you apart when it comes to film interests. Yeah. I mean, you see also it's weird because if you want to like be into film, you want to get into film, you have to watch basically everything because you have to watch what comes out and is popular and new to keep up with current trends, but you also have to watch all of the classics so that way you've seen what's come before. It's not easy.
Definitely not.
And it's also like from like even going beyond that from just a viewership perspective, like, you know, there are the films that come out, like there's a couple every year, hopefully, that like you watch and you're like, oh, that was just like a knockout. And there are tons of them that was like, it was okay, and it was fairly good. Like the knockout ones, there are literally decades of those, like decade after decade of those that you can watch, like that are just sitting there.
I always like finding not the knockout ones from long ago, and just they were pretty good ones because
there are some interesting ones.
Because those like people don't ever hear about, but you're like, oh, you should watch this.
The ones that are really good but don't get any attention,
right?
But also part of it is you still like what's really weird is like the MCU thing is like this weird dichotomy. Or if you say like you just saw the newest Avengers movie, people will be like, okay, yeah, everyone has. But also if you go to them and you talk about in like a film school or a film class or to a filmmaker, and you say that you haven't seen the newest Avengers movie and that you won't, they'll still look at you weird. Like it's this weird dichotomy where you have to keep up with both. But that's only if you really want to like make this your life.
And not to make it seem like we're ragging on the MCU. I mean, it is one of the greatest achievements in film history of just creating the continuity that they did.
If you're getting into film, it's kind of necessary viewing. Sad to say.
Yeah.
But like people are gonna look at you weird because again, it's keeping up with trends, and that's the biggest trend.
Yeah, there's always trends. There's the young adult novels trend that went on for a while. There's.
But it doesn't make you cool that you haven't seen the Avengers. Like, oh, Rebel.
Yeah.
He hasn't seen Infinity War. Everyone, look out! We got true film scholar over here.
Got a badass.
And that's the hardest part too, with trying to like keep up with film, is forcing yourself to watch things that you know you're gonna hate, like stuff that you know it sucks, but you know you need to watch it because it's important and everyone's gonna be talking about it. This is less important now that I'm out of college, but in college it was actually pretty important.
I think I call that 2017.
Yeah. But I remember I watched Greatest Showman just to keep up with the trend, and that was hell.
I watched that too. That was
I have some limits, but I did watch. The last 2 years I've watched the Best Picture ones, even the ones I didn't want to, just to see. And part of me regrets that. We also did the Snyder Cut. We did the Snyder Cut episode.
Yeah.
Twice.
We plan on doing some other big movies coming up. There's talks about F9. Probably we talked about doing Disney remakes for a while now. Who knows when we'll actually get to those. We're probably going to be doing Space Jam too.
Space Jam. Hey, welcome to the jam.
On Slam.
Wherever this is,
run, baby, run.
Listeners turn against me.
Even though this new one looks like shit.
It doesn't look good.
It's gonna be bad.
I have hope, but that last trailer took away most of it.
Yeah. Can we just get the Canyon version and be done with it?
Not to get into another big long tangent, but if you look at the trailer, you look at the scoreboard. In Trevor Space Jam 2, it doesn't the scoreboard doesn't say points. It says followers.
Oh
no!
Yeah.
No!
Yeah. The game's not about who wins basketball. It's about who is the coolest and who has the most like social media followers and likes.
Okay, of course this would be a LeBron thing. Oh, I'm more popular than Michael Jordan, where Michael Jordan won more.
You can't be better. God. So I do have more Twitter followers than Jordan. Like, well, you got him there.
Well, and that's not what upsets me. Is we're back to the Muppets of basically Warner's going, Looney Tunes aren't cool anymore. We need to make them. We need to do all this stuff to make it seem like hip. Looney Tunes are cool again. It's like they were never not cool to some of us. Some of us were still there.
It's still real to me, damn it.
It's still real to me, damn it.
Man, that pisses me off now.
Yeah, like Don Cheadle even calls them the rejects. They're the corporate mascots. They're not the rejects.
Sorry, you guys seen the ESPN's put out like the 30 for 30 about it already or something?
Sorry on that. That was so terrible. Like they made first of all, it's a ripoff because they made a parody about 5 years ago of the original Space Jam movie where some company, I think it might have Bleacher Report, made a fake 30 for 30 on the first Space Jam. This one was just painful. It was horrible.
Vertical integration, everybody.
And the actual basketball game, like the stadium that they're in, just looks terrible.
Looks like they're trying to set up Lola as very important as well.
But they've been talking about.
We all know why.
It's because they got Zendaya to voice her.
They've been doing Looney Tunes Space Jam Cinematic Universe, which I'm assuming Lola Bunny will probably be like the lead of going forward.
They know what they're doing.
It's where they got Zendaya.
Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing with that.
And I love Space Jam. I love it ironically. I don't understand. I love the Looney Tunes parts because a lot of those are actually really well done. The movie as a whole is not good.
I will accept that. There are lots of people who love it unironically now.
Yeah, where I'm confused is when Space Jam all of a sudden became a good movie unironic.
It's a classic.
It's not a good movie. I watched it as a kid and I enjoyed it. That's all I know that's good. It's Looney Tunes.
It might be the most 90s movie ever made.
That too.
But it's not great. We're not even talking about Emily Place anymore. We're not on the same wavelength. But I guess we can discuss while we're at it. If people are actually listening, we can discuss what we kind of have plans going forward for episodes.
Yeah, we got meta somehow.
Yeah, we got mad with this. Like Space Jam is coming. I just feel like that it's too big enough to talk about. Well, I could see us. We talked about drunk watching Lion King.
Oh boy,
we'll have to talk about it.
Can I just drink and sleep? I've already seen it.
We have. So have I.
I have yet to put myself through that much pain.
Oh, it's painful.
I won't say we have to watch all of them because like Aladdin's also pretty horrible.
I've really tried that actively.
Yeah, but then we also have to watch the Maleficent ones too.
That
You
should
can't give me
almost,
to watch all these
honestly,
movies. I can't do it.
But that should be like a goal, right? If we get enough subscribers or followers or whatever, for how many we get, we do a Disney remake.
Okay.
Or we do them all or something, right? We have a goal.
Yeah.
And if we get enough for each tier,
I'll say. I'll say it on the. You don't call it on the air, do you? For a podcast, what do you call? I don't care. I'll do it. I'll do it then. I'll sell out. All right. Yeah. You're seeing my true colors here. I will sell out. If you offer me enough, I will sell out.
I feel like we can do Lion King for free. We can do one of them. We can do one of them for free, but the rest. Behind Scraper Walks. I know we've talked about. I think you want to do this, but I've talked about. And I think Justin, me, and you talked about doing maybe some more stuff on Twitch. Mm-hmm. Also doing more like video stuff too. Just getting more content out there.
Yeah.
But that's. All this. We're basically doing this as we go. We're making this up as we go along.
Clearly.
If there's an idea you want us to do, like send it to us. If there's some weird movie you want us to see and talk about, we'll look into it to a point. Like, I don't want stuff like Watermelon Man and stuff showing up.
Yeah.
In their inbox, but I'll look into stuff. If there's a trend or a topic you want us to talk about, because like we can maybe do, especially maybe if we do more YouTube stuff, we can maybe do like bigger series on different stuff, like cinematic universes. Like do like different like months where we talk about bigger things each month and different themes. I would love to do like a Harry Potter month.
Interesting.
Something where we do maybe not an episode.
Now that we've insulted the fans a week ago, we can do an episode. Oh, wasn't? Oops. We never made fun of Harry Potter fans. You have no evidence. I wish to assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
But I could see it maybe doing like by eras or by like directors or something.
Yeah.
We can do.
Oh yeah, I push for that one for sure.
Could it be because we can't do them all at once, but we can do bits and pieces. Maybe subscriber wall. Maybe we do MCU or DCEU or we do one of the really bad ones that we don't want.
DCEU.
We will torture ourselves if people actually. I don't want to do it if people aren't going to actually watch it.
Yeah, if people watch it, I am willing to torture myself.
Yeah, but if people watch it, if we get views, we'll torture it. We'll argue. If maybe you want to see us debate and argue more, come up with topics you want us to argue about. There is plenty of bad blood there.
Just make us do Forrest Gump, and we'll get started.
Send us more animation, and I'll get us started. Okay, how many subscribers do we have to get in order for us to do anime?
1 billion.
100?
A billion. Infinity times infinity.
What if it's like a good anime, like Akira or Batman Ninja?
That's not. No, that doesn't exist.
Wait.
Now I've pissed off more people.
We're torturing ourselves for just saying.
What?
I just love showing people Batman Ninja. I just get a kick out of showing that to them and watching their minds implode. Yeah, I showed Justin it not too long ago, and we were all like, "You're not ready for this." And Justin's like, "Yeah, I am. This isn't that bad." And then by the end, he's like, "I was not ready for this."
Well, it seemed normal at first, and then all of a sudden, it got way out there.
Well, it's just an ordinary Batman. Oh my goodness!
Pretty much.
There's a lot of stuff.
I'm not gonna watch that.
There's a lot of stuff that I'd be willing to. Yeah, well, you might. I'll make it.
I'm coming down with a cold.
He'll be sick that week.
We'll try and do more. But what we talked about doing, that if we could, I don't really know the context for this because it's not really part of our theme. What we talk about, but we had a whole big conversation on The Rock's diet, and we joked about trying The Rock's diet for a day.
Well, he's at a Blockbuster like every couple months, so we'll have plenty of opportunities. Jungle Cruise.
Also, they don't just have to be movies. You can also ask us to talk about TV shows or video games.
That's true. We want to do Mass Effect coming. There will be a Mass Effect episode coming up, but currently
one of us still has to finish finish it.
Yeah, I'm replaying it. Justin's playing for the first time. When we're done with that, we'll probably do one. That's the thing, though. How about Rock? If you come on the podcast, we'll each do your diet for a day. Maybe a week.
1 week we aim for Greg, and next week The Rock. Next week it'll be Elon Musk.
Well,
Hell,
Rock,
I'd invite Elon on.
The Rock, we'll eat your diet as long as you want if it gets you on the podcast. You set the terms, Rock. You set the terms.
I can smell what you're cooking.
We want to do that. We just want to do the 5-meal one instead of the 7-meal one because I can't eat that much fish in a day.
Yeah, we might die.
Yeah. I guess for context, the Rock's 7-meal-a-day diet, which is for him bulking, is like 4 servings of fish, like 1 steak, a bunch of rice, and then it ends like the final meal is like 30 grams of just pure protein and a 10-egg white omelet.
Just snort it like Scarface.
Like it's wild. But I would love to do like more bigger concept episodes and do more content that might be a little bit more ambitious. Maybe do some more in-depth dives, but at this current moment, it's not worth putting that work in.
I want to endanger my body for the Rock's diet until.
Yeah, but if we get views and we get listens, we'll do more stuff. We'll get more ambitious. Greg Marcus, we will do whatever. Name your terms right now. I mean it. I know you probably think that we're making fun of you at this point, but
we love you.
We genuinely love you. Please come talk to us. We want to have a conversation. Same with you, The Rock. Same with anyone somewhat popular. We love guests. Come on here. I love to talk, especially with other like film YouTubers and like creators and stuff. Like people like Meat Canyon, Quit Reviews, Defunctland. I love to have people like them on and just debate stuff and discuss stuff and watch movies. Spread the love, but who knows? We're so small potatoes. I guess those are our plans going forward. If those interest you, if you have ideas, let us know. You know, do you want us to do all the Harry Potter movies? Do you want us to talk about weird Harry Potter shit? Do you want us to do MCU? Do you want us to eat the Rock's diet and die? Let us know.
Live on the airwaves.
But I want to end this episode back on our main topic. Final thoughts on In a Lonely Place. I'll start us off. Well, I wish the movie was more entertaining. I did really enjoy it. I did have a good time. I love the themes. They stick with me. Humphrey Bogart's amazing. I'm glad I watched it. And now I want to watch more Bogart, really. It's really where Justin, what do you think?
Basically the same thing as you. I liked that it kind of kept me guessing at the beginning whether they were actually involved in the murder or not. A little slow at times, but I mean, it kept it kind of well paced and under a good time limit.
I said I'd give it a 4. Where are you right now?
About there. I'm right about a 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's where, when I first watched this, that's where I was. I started at a 4, upgraded to 4.5, because, I mean, the reason I love this movie so much is that it sticks with you, and the themes are very impactful and kind of keep you thinking well after you've watched it, and that's why I picked it. That's why I think it's such an excellent film, is that it's very ahead of its time in those topics and talks about them extremely well in a concise, very tense package. And like you said, I mean, Humphrey Bogart just knocks it out of the park in this one, so it's a fantastic film.
So yeah, if you're interested in this movie, it's currently available on Amazon Prime with a subscription. Otherwise, it's free with ads on IMDb TV, which is through the Prime app, or on other services like Pluto TV and Tubi TV. It's well worth a watch. And I guess for context, our scores we just gave were out of 5. If you want to see our scores for this movie and our scores for other movies, they are on our Letterboxd accounts. The links are in the description on our YouTube page. Go check out our social media if you want to learn more about us. And yeah, this has been another episode of Idiot Plot for Alex Overall this night. So I'm David Yanish. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you the next time.
Thanks for listening to Idiot Plot. You can find us on Spotify, Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get a notification every time we drop a new episode. Also, follow us on Facebook and Letterbox. The links are in the description.